Thesis 6. Fear of the monster is really a kind of desire. The monster is continually linked to forbidden practices in order to normalize and to enforce. The monster also attracts. The same creatures who terrify and interdict can evoke potent escapist fantasies. The linking of monstrosity with the forbidden makes the monster all the more appealing as a temporary egress from constraint. This simultaneous repulsion and attraction at the core of the monster's composition accounts greatly for its continued cultural popularity, for the fact that the monster seldom can be contained in a simple binary dialectic. We distrust and loathe the monster at the same time we envy its freedom and perhaps its sublime despair. Through the body of the monster, fantasies of aggression, domination, and inversion are allowed safe expression in a clearly delimited and permanently liminal space. Escapist delight gives way to horror only when the monster threatens to overstep these boundaries, to destroy or deconstruct the thin walls of category and culture. When contained by geographic, generic, or epistemic marginalization, the monster can function as an alter ego, as an alluring projection of another self. The monster awakens one to the pleasures of the body, to the simple and fleeting joys of being frightened or frightening, to the experience of mortality and corporality. We watch the monstrous spectacle of the horror film because we know that the cinema is a temporary place, that the jolting sensuousness of the celluloid images will be followed by re-entry into the world of comfort and light. The co-optation of the monster into a symbol of the desirable is often accomplished through the neutralization of potentially threatening aspects with a liberal dose of comedy. The thundering giant becomes the bumbling giant. Monsters may still function, however, as the vehicles of causative fantasies even without their valences reversed. What Bakhtin calls official culture can transfer all that is viewed as undesirable in itself into the body of the monster, performing a wish-fulfillment drama of its own. The scapegoated monster is perhaps ritually destroyed in the course of some official narrative, purging the community by eliminating its sins. The monster's eradication functions as an exorcism, and when retold and promulgated, as a catechism. The monstrous lurks somewhere in that ambiguous primal space between fear and attraction, close to the heart of what Kristeva calls abjection. There looms, within abjection, one of those violent, dark revolts of being, directed against a threat that seems to emanate from an exorbitant outsider inside, ejected beyond the scope of the possible, the tolerable, the thinkable. It lies there, quite close, but it cannot be assimilated. It beseeches, worries, fascinates desire, which, nonetheless, does not let itself be seduced. Apprehensive, desire turns aside. Sickened, it rejects. But simultaneously, just the same, that impetus, that spasm, that leap is drawn toward an elsewhere as tempting as it is condemned. Unflaggingly, like an inescapable boomerang, a vortex of summons and repulsion places the one haunted by it, literally, beside himself. And the self that one stands so suddenly and so nervously beside is the monster. The monster is the objected fragment that enables the formation of all kinds of identities: personal, national, cultural, economic, sexual, psychological, universal, particular. Perhaps it is time to ask the question that always arises when the monster is discussed seriously. Do monsters really exist? Surely they must, for if they did not, how could we?